Tomb of Merneptah, number 8. The king gave the order for his 110-meter-long tomb to be carved into the rock of the mountain in the Valley of the Kings on one axis running from east to west. After confirming the card that was attached to the coffin, Lowert in 1898 discovered the king's mummy among the royal mummies that were concealed inside Amenhotep II's tomb, suggesting that the tomb had been robbed sometime after his death. Lepsius arrived at the tomb in 1842 and proceeded inside, reaching room E, but the amount of debris inside prevented him from going any farther. Carter started cleaning the tomb in 1903 and continued until he could get to the burial chamber. The well-known scene of the Holy Trinity is depicted on the lintel at the top of the entrance. It features the sun disk, which consists of the god Re, and the scarab, which represents the god Keeper, as well as an image of a human figure with a ram's head, which represents the god Adam. The goddesses Isis, who is kneeling on the left, and Nephthys, who is kneeling on the right, both worship it. Additionally, we observe a scene depicting the deity Hen kneeling on the corridor's arched rave, with Hathor kneeling on the right and Isis kneeling on the left, and the two goddesses giving him the NYNY greeting. The sequence of events recorded on the left side of the corridor shows the king facing Re Horakti, followed by a sequence of unique hymns honoring the sun deity Re and a scene showing the sun's disk between a crocodile and a serpent. On the wall to the right, hymns to the sun god Re continue. The sun's disk with wings is seen as we descend a steep corridor and see hymns honoring the god Re. There were depictions of gods climbing stairs on the right and left walls of this corridor, followed by the Book of Gates 2nd and 3rd chapters on the left and right walls, respectively. Similarly, scenes and texts from the book Amdawat are included. The scenes from the 3rd hour are on the left, where we can see the deity Anubis and the goddess Isis underneath him. The scenes from the 4th hour are on the right, where we can see the god Anubis and the goddess Nephthys beneath him. This corridor's ceiling is decorated with scenes related to astronomical scenes. Next, we come to a corridor with inscribed texts and scenes from the book Amduat, which correspond to the 4 and 5 hours, on its walls. Now that we are in the hall, the front portion of it is decorated with texts and scenes from the 10th and 11th hours of the book Amduat. The gods Osiris and Wennefer are depicted on the left wall, followed by 2 of Horus's sons and 4 other gods and goddesses. The deity Anubis is next, and 2 tiny representations of 2 of Horus' sons are in front of him. Then, nearly identical scenes may be seen on the right wall, but Anubis has been replaced by the priest Ionmut. We now enter a hall with a ceiling supported by 2 rows of 4 pillars. Scenes depicting the king in his many relationships with Osiris, Re, Osiris with the head of a ram, Re Horakiti, and Anubis are represented on the 4 faces of the 4 pillars. This hall is identified by a niche on its western side and an entrance in its northern wall that leads to a room supported by 2 pillars. The scenery depicts the 4 sons of Horus, Imzadi and Duamutef on the left, followed by the goddess Isis, and Hapi and Kabisanuf on the right, followed by the goddess Nephthys. On the rear wall, or facing wall, is an image of King Osiris seated. We make our way back to the hall, which has an incline in the center that opens into a corridor. This hall's lintel depicts the winged and seated goddess Maat, daughter of Re. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th chapters of the Book of Gates are represented by scenes and texts on the left half of this hall, followed by a scene featuring the 4 human races. On the left side of this hall stood a representation of the 3rd chapter in the Book of Gates. Subsequently, the king presents the goddess Maat statue and wine to the god Osiris. We arrive at a room on the right where there is a massive pink granite block that is used as the lid of the outer sarcophagus holding the mummy of the king. It's possible that the ancient Egyptian laborers had some trouble moving it to the burial chamber or that this lid was shifted be used as a lid for another sarcophagus, but in any case, it was left in its current location under the weight of its own weight. It is 2.20 meters wide by 4.09 meters long by 75 centimeters high. Texts from the books of Gates and Amduat are inscribed on it. Afterward, we arrive at a corridor, from which we descend to the ruined burial chamber, which is notable for its celestial scenes on its vaulted ceiling. There are also 4 little side rooms, 2 on each side. A stairway at the end descends to a rectangular chamber with 3 doors leading to 3 rooms, one on the right, the second is to the left, and the third is facing us. The burial chamber ceiling is supported by 2 rows of pillars, each with 4 pillars. The inner sarcophagus lid, which is preserved in its original position, is the focal point of this room. The king's mummy seems to have been deposited within a wooden coffin, which was then placed inside a stone sarcophagus that has not survived. All that's left of it is this lid, which is situated here. It was then placed inside another stone sarcophagus, of which just this lid we saw previously is still present. This inner sarcophagus lid measured 3.45 meters in length, 1.5 meters in breadth, and 47 centimeters in height, resembling a royal cartouche. Its vaulted lid is adorned with a carved image of the king Osiris, wearing the headdress of Anemes and a cobra on his forehead with a false royal beard. To protect the king's body, we find the carved images of the winged and kneeling goddesses Nephthys at the feet, while goddess Isis at the head. The ruins of passages and scenes from chapter 8 of the Book of Gates are also visible on the walls of the burial chamber.